Peace, love, and light, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens. My name is Sackcloth. Welcome to the Out the Pit podcast channel. This channel is dedicated strictly for podcasts, but specifically, welcome to the Dreamers podcast, man. This is dedicated to give all glory to the Creator, the Most High, God, Jesus, Allah, Great Spirit, the universe, your higher self, whatever you look, whatever you into, whatever you identify as. Me personally, I identify as a spiritual being having a human experience, and this podcast is dedicated to the Creator or whatever that might be. So my first guest on episode 1 of The Dreamer is my big unc from YouTube, man. Jay Garcia, aka Bone Crusher. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So I met this elder, this OG here on YouTube in I think on somebody else's channel that I was on. I met him in the comment section, and automatically we clicked up. We clicked. The vibe, the spirit just clicked. You feel me? It was just a spiritual mesh right there. And then so the more I got to know him, the more he got to know me. We chopped it up on the phone, you know what I'm saying, a couple of times, and then I was intrigued. You did? I was intrigued by his spirit. And I think it was in vice versa also. But anywho, I talked to him and I heard his story. I heard some of his story. And it was enough for me to know he deserved to be, the Most High was leading me so he can be the first person on this podcast. We got some other ones lined up for you too, man. I think this is gonna be good. Like I say, this podcast, The Dreamer, has no affiliation with a religion. It has no affiliation with a doctrine. You feel what I'm saying? The doctrine is your spiritual experience, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day for me. That's what's important for me. It's your experience. Several things can be true at one time. You get what I'm saying? I don't believe there's a specific route that we all should be on. That's just me. You can believe what you want, and you can come here and express what you believe, but it's not about that. Like I said, it's about telling your testimony, how you made it through your tribulations. You know, your hardships, your bad times. Some people say it was God, some people say it was their higher self or whatever. I want to hear it. And I think by us expressing our situation, our past, our traumas, it will help somebody else. You feel me? So maybe you might be speaking to somebody that's on the same level as you. Maybe not, you feel me? Or maybe somebody might hear it and be like, dang, yeah, like I could learn from that person, you feel me? You never know. And that's what it's all about, because like I say, I feel like the Most High, the Creator, is involved in all religions. He's working through all of them. There's no specific one that it's no tailor-made cookie cutter type of situation going on with him, you feel me? What my beliefs is that he's overall, he's in everything, you feel me? Guiding people's lives. He might send someone to this side, he might send someone to that side, hell, he might tell someone to go straight to the middle. But at the end of the day, we're all aligned, and he's involved with all of our lives. We just got to figure out where he is, where he got you, so you can tap in. But enough about that. Let's get into this podcast. Let's get into this episode 1. Give a round of applause for Jay Bone Crusher, my Unc Garcia. Enjoy. All right. So I titled this podcast The Dreamer because it's a biblical reference to Joseph. Okay. You know, the story of Joseph when his brothers sold him into slavery. They threw him into the pit. Remember, this is where I got the whole the idea of out the pit. It's a reference to Joseph in the Old Testament when his brothers threw him in the pit, and then his youngest brother Judah, pulled him out the pit and then turned around and sold his ass to slavery. But anywho, the reason they threw him into the pit was because they were jealous of, he was a dreamer. He got dreams. You feel me? He got dreams from God and all this and that. That eventually evolved. Those dreams eventually, the dreams and his life eventually evolved from him being a dreamer to him being able to interpret dreams.
Okay.
So he went into the pit a dreamer. And so
Right.
that's why I named this podcast The Dreamer, because it's a testament to who you are, your story coming out of the pit. So you come in, you go in the pit a dreamer, but you come out the pit the interpreter of dreams, the next level of your life. That wasn't the final level of his life, but that was the next level of his life. And that's what actually got him to the status he was in Egypt, by interpreting Pharaoh's dreams.
Okay.
So it's a reference to that. You feel me? It's a shout out to that. So so that's where I get the title of this podcast from. It's called The Dreamer.
Well, I like the title. Okay, and the reason why I like a title as how you put it, the title, I want to comfortably say, fits me very well. Okay, and as we go along, you may or may not realize how well it fits. Okay, because we got to understand what Dreamer is all about. Right now, first and foremost, whenever you want to jump and ask a question, go ahead. All right, don't wait till I'm done, because what may just happen is I may forget, and or vice versa. You might forget the question. So let's just like if we were sitting down playing dominoes or sitting down having a cup of coffee, which of course I always like coffee. Coffee good. Now this my coffee. I got. All right, look here now. Be careful. Be careful with them things. Be careful.
I do. Trust me. Yeah, you're right. I monitor it. It's not an everyday thing. It's me and my wife share one. You feel me? So
all right.
They're not the best. They're not good for you. Period. But it's so good, tasteful. It's so tasteful.
It's like my bad habit that I had to break many moons ago about sitting down drinking a whole 2 liter of soda, Coca-Cola, with every meal I had. So great thing to have, but it'll take a toll on the body.
Absolutely.
That's why we're gonna call this one testimony of a dream. So I'm gonna go ahead and testimony this dream here. So now let me ask you this question: what year do you want me to start? Because that's going to dictate how we're going to start
now. You don't have to go here, but something that stuck out to us that you said a while back, because we listen very well over here.
Go ahead.
For the most part, unless something going on, that was one of the lies that you said at this age of 7,
right?
6 or 7, right. You wanted to murk somebody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start. Yeah, we're gonna let me see if I can pull this up, because I would like for you rather to see what I'm talking about, and let me see if I can get this together. Hold on, I know I got the folder up, because I created a folder just specifically for this, and I want to make sure that I can show you what we're talking about. Okay, let me see if I can get this in here. See, slide no. Because of course you got to share it on your side. So let me just pull up this folder.
Okay, good. And I'm gonna go through a tutorial of how to do that. Right. Good to know.
Because I just created it, so it's giving me a little hard time to find it, but I will definitely just bear with me just a moment and see. Because it might be. Because this would explain. This is gonna explain a whole lot. Explain, Ricky. Explain. I gonna explain. I gonna explain. No problem. Give me a moment, please.
Give us free.
Let us speak. Where is this folder? I just created this gosh darn thing, man. Why are you giving me a hard time? Why is it when you're always trying to find something, it never appears, but when you don't want to find it, it stands right in your face
everywhere. And you be like, I'm gonna look. You be like, I was. What are you doing? First off, what are you doing here? And then I'm gonna be looking for you later. Then when you go back and look for it later, it ain't there.
You're absolutely right. And I have it sitting here right here. Is it even down to my spelling is spelled differently. It's spelled testimony. It's got a real silly way of spelling it.
Yeah.
Let me see something here.
People don't understand. Look, for y'all out there, y'all don't understand what it is, how much mental strength and patience it takes to be a content creator.
Ooh. who you
People
telling?
don't understand, man. People don't understand. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be. And we're not talking about just jumping on the live, you know, hitting the link and then popping in. You feel me? But how much preparation, how much, you know, mental remembrance and all that stuff goes into this. You know, everything, man. It's work. It's work. Editing and all that. You know, slides and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it becomes a tail. It becomes a real pain in the tail. Let me see if I can pull it this way. Because at times when you're trying to figure out, she's not giving me my other folder. That's the problem. When I mean, look, you know what? We're just gonna go this route. This is good. All right. Let's start off from your question. 6 to 7 years old, right? So while I love the personality, I know how you keep that. Yeah, well, I keep laughing, crying, stressed out, all those things. Yeah, well, because you know, my personality, I'm gonna have to say my personality is based off of my upbringing and what I experienced as a kid, right?
Yes, sir.
And as ugly as it can be, because there's gonna be some times it's gonna be ugly. And please, whether it's your followers, whether it's your subscribers, whether it's people tuning in with the chat afterwards, or anybody commenting on anything, please do not say, man, I feel sorry for Jay. Don't feel sorry for me. Please don't feel sorry for me. Because at the end of the day, you feeling sorry for me makes it even worse. Because at the end of the day, what really is happening when you say you're sorry, you really don't mean it, because you didn't walk in my shoes, so you don't understand it. I prefer for you to say, Jay, I understand what you went through because I was in your shoes. Don't say you're sorry.
Correct.
It doesn't make any sense. You're trying to soothe my ego, or you're trying to stroke my emotional side. And guess what? Unfortunately, it's gonna cause a problem. Am I choppy on your side? Because if I'm choppy on your side, I'm gonna have to switch out my internet.
It was a little bit earlier, slightly, but you pretty fluid now. Seems to be. I'll let you know.
All right, let me.
And then if need be, I can pause.
Let me try something. No, because I don't want it to be choppy, because you know when it's choppy, we miss out on things, and people start saying, "Oh, what the heck did he say?" No, I don't want nobody saying that on your channel. I don't want no confusions. I don't want nobody talking about any side stuff. No, we're gonna. I'm gonna step out, come right back in. Okay. So, no one's walked in my shoes. The recording has resumed. All right, cool. Let me try this out, size. Let me see if I can.
Let me get comfortable.
Yes, get comfortable, because I can tell you right now. I'm gonna start with, like you said, the 6-7 years old. Now, first we gotta understand something, right? My name, I like everybody to call me Jay, JJ, Jason, Junior, and I'll explain why. 99% of the people pronounce my name incorrectly from the jump. They always say Jose because it's spelled Jose. And unfortunately, that is because here in the United States, they were taught that way. And the bad thing about it is that they never was taught how to properly pronounce the name. My name is pronounced Josie, just like Josie and the Pussycats. So when you learn how to say Josie, then I'm going to turn around and look at you. Because let's not forget, the other problem is this. 99% of the time when someone says Jose, you get 30 to 40 males in the street turn around and look at you. Especially in the Bronx.
I believe it.
You know, it's something that is not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work for me. Invalid type file. How is it invalid type file? All right, so let's go this right. Image file. So at the age of 6 to 7, let's also remember and try to understand. I was a very young age.
You chopping.
Now, if you don't mind, at the age of 6 or 7, I was adopted at the age of 3. Okay. Now, at the age of 3, come out of the Dominican Republic, going to Florida, from Florida all the way up to New York, the Bronx specifically. Of course, I was left at the babysitter's doorstep, right? So the babysitter, her name was Miriam Melendez. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, and I'll get into why I say unfortunately, she's still alive. And she took me in, she was the babysitter, she took me in, and many, many years, of course, we got to go back to how people from different places were coming into the United States undocumented. So they talk about undocumented now, that happened many, many years ago as well. So on top of being adopted, because the babysitter, my mother at the time chose not to come back and pick me up one night, and she just left me. According to the story, I could only go to what I was told.
Correct.
I was told my mother decided to leave me behind because she didn't want to deal with me. Okay. So over the course of the years, many years come by, and at the age of 6 or 7, in this picture here, I'm 5 years old. Right on the left and right is my so-called brother and sister, stepbrother, stepsister. Victor is the male, and the female is Dolores, and she was, and we called her India. Okay, India to me, and this is where as I said before, yeah.
Take your time.
India's my sister. No matter what anybody says. Okay? She'll always be my sister. And she passed away not too long ago. And it hurts because of what I experienced at the age of 6. Now, many people will understand this because they're not walking anybody in my shoes. They haven't walked. That's why the pain is still there. And it took me a while, and it's still taking a while, as you can tell. It really hurts. It turns me inside out, right? And even the wife right now is in the background telling me, "Am I ready for this?" Because she knows how much it hurts. My sister was dyke, right? And I love her for it, regardless. Now, one of the worst things that you saw in that picture, we look like a happy family because, of course, we're kids. We're growing up. They were kids too. So there's no way that they could understand what they were going through, right? There's no way they could understand what trauma was happening in the family, right? That's my sister. That's maybe about 2 years before she passed away. They called her La India, right? Beautiful heart, beautiful person, real pain in the ass, and I love her for it. So in the first picture, Victor, which was my stepbrother, now mind you, India's my stepsister, but I love her to death, and she will always be my blood sister because of what she has done. This comes back to the conversation you and I had some time ago about a female bringing you up and how you learn from a female's perspective how to be a man, right? Now, at the age of 6, and I'll never forget this, and this is why I said someone needs to be murked. At the age of 6, my stepmother, and I'll say her name was Maria Melendez. Maria Melendez didn't like the fact that my sister openly came out and said that she likes women. And we was in the Bronx at the time, at 174th Street and Park Avenue. And when my sister turned around and told her mother, her biological mother, in front of me, the stepchild, because of course now I'm the adopted child, that she loves women and she only wants to be with women. My stepmother walked into the bedroom. Now, if anybody remembers, or you or somebody who close to you remembers back in the day, thank you. She went into the room and she pulled out a baseball bat. Now, Maria Melendez is my stepmother, my adopted mother, pulls out a baseball bat and started beating my sister with the baseball bat, fracturing her skull, breaking 2 ribs, fracturing her arm, dislocating her shoulder, left her with multiple bruises. all the way from the second floor of the apartment, out of the apartment, into the hallway, down the stairs, out into the street, where she just beat her with the bat and kept beating her and beating her and beating her. Then dragged her back upstairs, shoved her into the bathroom, broke the bat on her inside the bathroom, and then shoved her into the bathtub to let her try to bleed out. Now, many people don't understand how trauma sits inside a person and how hatred can actually fuel the person for the rest of their life. Now, many people say they can't remember things. And this is a true story. And my name ain't true story. That name is taken already. But I will never forget, nor will I forgive Maria Melendez for showing me that hatred of a person. Showing me the hatred of your own biological child because of what they choose to do in life or how they choose to live. That type of trauma and that type of visual reference to a child at that age is terrible. My sister at the time was 17 years of age. So she only had 11 years on me. And because she chose to tell her mother, come out in the open, that she loves women and that's all she wanted to be with. That's what Maria Melendez chose to do, is to beat the gay out of her, or beat the homosexuality out of her. Because I don't believe in the word gay. Gay is actually a person that's happy. So call me gay all you want, because I'm always happy. But I'm still hurting, as you can tell. And it took a lot. I mean, the day my sister passed away, I even told my brother, I said, you're going to pay for this, and you're going to pay dearly. It's either going to be by my hands or it's going to be by the Creator's hands. You're going to pay. And the reason why I told him that is because he was a heavy drug user. Okay. Now, as he was a heavy drug user, bringing drugs into the house, again, at a young age, it's a terrible thing to see. So unless you walk in my shoes, don't tell me you're sorry. Tell me you understand. At the age of 7, I realized another thing about Maria Melendez. Maria Melendez also was a drug user. She liked to smoke marijuana and probably do other things. And you got to try to understand something. One of the most important things is when you adopt a child is to show that child a better life, and or to show that child what they're coming into to become better. So Maria Melendez failed terribly at that. And the reason why I say failed terribly is because, granted, she was a single mother in the Bronx, late 60s, early 70s, struggling with 2 of her own, plus an adopted child. That part I truly understand. Am I grateful? Unfortunately, at my old age, I have to say I'm not. And the reason why I say I'm not grateful is because of the torment that I had to see growing up, the trauma that I endured growing up. And please take that picture now. And seeing and experiencing things made matters worse. My adopted mother, Maria Melendez, she had this thing about believing that she looked like a movie star because she would paint herself up with her long black hair and look like Zsa Zsa Gabor and another famous woman that was an actress. And many men would flock to her because she looked like these 2 women when she used to get dressed up. Now, what made matters worse is at the age of 8. And please understand, I ask anybody who's watching, don't say sorry. I'm sorry to hear this. No. Say, I could understand because I walked in your shoes. Or, damn, that's a real rough life that you lived. I appreciate that much more better. At the age of 8, Maria Melendez was involved with a guy that was a butcher. And of course, you got to remember, as a child, you see things, and things that are very traumatic to a child would be more remembered than the good things. Because for some reason that I don't want to say fear, because fear is false evidence appearing real.
Correct.
I'm going to say the word of trauma.
Yes.
So one of the things that I saw when she met this guy, now of course a butcher, we all know what a butcher looks like. Back in the day, butchers used to walk around with the actual carcass of the cow, the sheep, whatever, and sell it and cut it up in the street. So she met this guy and she brought him into the house, and of course they tried to play house. So one night, now you know about card tables. Back in the day, card tables were made of cardboard. They weren't, like a real thick cardboard. Right now
Yes,
they
sir.
call them oh damn, I forgot the name of it. It's just like a real it's particle board. That's what it's
Particle
called.
board.
Right.
Yes.
So when you think of a particle board, back in the day, it was actually a lot less than what it is now. So one night I was sitting underneath that card table in Maria Melendez's bedroom, and I was playing with my rabbit. And this is where, when you said, you got rabbits, this is where it gets kind of interesting. I'm sitting playing with my rabbit. I was 8 years old. Maria Melendez was smoking her marijuana. The guy was smoking with her. And for some apparent reason, he didn't like the fact that I was playing with a rabbit. He stood up, grabbed the rabbit by the ears, walked into the kitchen, came back into the bedroom, put the rabbit on top of the table, and turned around and told Maria Melendez, "This is why I don't like animals," and stabbed the rabbit through the particle board where the blood was dripping on my forehead. Now, of course, I started screaming because A, I don't know what the hell happened. B, all I heard was a squeal. And I get up and I look and I see my rabbit dead on top of the table. She turns around, she starts screaming, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 blah. How can you do that? That's my son, blah, blah, blah. Let's get out, get out, get out." I'm like, okay, well, but you allowed it to happen. Like, you let him grab my pet. Of course, now she shoves him out the house. They don't talk for a while. She shoved him out the house. But that's still a traumatic situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Now, the age of 9, now we turn around. We introduce some dogs to the house. Right? We had some mixed dogs. I got a picture of my dog. Like one of my dogs. I think I got a picture of it. Let me see. Because my niece just sent it to me because she heard what I was going to do. And she sent me a picture. No, I don't have it. All right. She sent me a picture of we had a collie, a terrier collie. That was the first one. Her name was Beauty. And Queenie was a mixed German Shepherd at the age of 9. So now, of course, Queenie didn't want nobody. I mean, absolutely nobody walking her. Nobody. They put the real thick, back in the day, them junkyard dog chains on her because nobody wanted to walk her. All right, I'll do that. I'll send it later.
Yes, sir.
And so she turns around, and I had these 2 dogs. Now, of course, now I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see a lot of uncomfortableness in the house. Victor smokes a lot. My sister's smoking marijuana. Maria Melendez is smoking marijuana. I'm suffering from asthma because I had asthma when I was a kid growing up. And I have these 2 dogs because they're trying to compensate my trauma. This is what Maria Melendez was trying to do.
Correct.
So I'm like, okay. And I see everybody had a hard time walking Queenie all the time. And I couldn't understand why Queenie was so angry. I mean, straight up angry all the time. And I couldn't figure it out. So several months later, I'm sitting down and I said, I'm gonna go outside. So I took both dogs outside. Queenie, which was considered the violent one, sat by my side, never left my side. So then, of course, I started realizing, okay, well, this is the dog that's gonna protect me for whatever reason. I don't know, because I'm still young. I don't know what's going on. I'm still, I'm a child, still learning.
Correct.
So, fast forward a couple of more years, and Now my sister, she gets pregnant by a guy, legal guy. They were planning to get married. She was shocked, and it was only because of a money factor. Because of course, growing up in the Bronx, they were struggling. Victor then decided to go out to the military, and he figured that he'll go to the military, he'd be all right. He spent 6 months in the military, came right back. That's a whole nother long story. So Victor comes back thinking that he's all grown up. He was what, 23, I believe, at the time. I'm just trying to remember. Comes back 6 months, talking about he's a badass. Again, I don't know what's going on. My sister's pregnant. And of course, fast forward 9 months later, she has my niece, Jasmine. Now, mind you, we're still living in the Bronx, okay? And we moved from 174th Street, Park Avenue, to 174th and Park Avenue. Went from 174th Park Avenue to 175th and Grand Concourse. At 175th Grand Concourse, this is where I think you saw when I was talking about jumping from roof to roof as a kid, kid games. That was the building we lived in for many years.
Yeah.
Now, to make things beneficial, Victor, at the age of 23, he got a job right next door in the building as a doorman. Back then, $500 was like having $5,000 a week.
Yeah.
Right? So he
serious
was making,
money.
Yeah, it was serious money. Yeah, absolutely. So he was making $600 a week as a doorman. All he had to do was come out of that orange and white building I showed you and walk right next door and go to work, right? At the age of 23. My sister has Jasmine during that same time frame. Jasmine, I love her to death. I'm gonna add the story of Jasmine.
This is not to cut you off. This is not the same sister that was a lesbian, correct?
Whoa, time out. We got either I got it or you got it. You got a storm up by you?
No, sir.
Or down by you?
No, it's a lag. It's a serious lag going on.
There was a real bad lag there. Real bad.
Because I'm seeing my reception is high.
I'm checking mine too. All right, well, go again with your question.
Is this the same sister that was a lesbian, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. She decided to have a baby and get involved with a guy because the guy had money. The guy was the local drug dealer. Big baller. I'm talking about a big baller. If anybody remember back, I don't remember the name of the car, right? But it looked like the Batmobile. It was long, stretched out. He had the wing on the back, almost looking like a Batmobile. Yeah. He had one of those, right? And he would always dress up in denim wear. He always had like a denim jacket, denim jeans, and he had the little buttons all the way around. Not the actual buttons, but that you find on the couches. He had that on his denim suits. So he was a fly joker back in the day.
Okay,
right?
okay.
And she got involved with him only because of the money factor, and she wanted to see if in fact she really did like men. So unfortunately,
she's gonna try to give it a shot.
Yeah, she tried to give it a shot. It failed miserably. Let's just say it like that. It failed miserably. She didn't like the way he smelled. She didn't like the way it felt when he touched her. She just didn't like it. It
wasn't for her.
Wasn't for her. Gratefully, Jasmine came about. Jasmine's my niece. Jasmine's another one that would always be my niece. She won't be considered a step niece. She won't be considered a third party of the family. No, Jasmine is 100% my blood, even though we don't have the same blood, but she's mine, right? Jasmine and I started growing up together. And again, both Queenie and Beauty were in our lives. Now, of course, I would have loved to find that picture of me. We actually would go to this place called City Island in Bronx, New York, in Orchard Beach. And her and I will always stay together, no matter what. It was like little brother and sister, but we're actually uncle and niece. And of course, Jasmine came about at the age of 8 months old. Jasmine was in the crib, and Queenie jumped into the crib because Maria Melendez was hitting, again, my sister. So Maria Melendez panicked, when she saw Queenie jump in the crib. Maria Melendez came, took a stick, and started beating the dog out of the crib. Called the ASPCA to come pick up the dog, and I'm asking her, why are you taking my dog away? She says, because the dog needs to die. Okay.
Whoa.
And I don't understand why you're telling me that, but okay. So, of course, when they came, they snatched the Queenie. I was bawling. I mean, tears to the ground. My sister comes over. She's like, it's going to be okay, JJ, because even my sister, she's the one that calls me JJ. And that is because my name is Josie Jr. So she always called me JJ.
Okay.
And she said, JJ's going to be all right. And I'm bawling. And she said, it's going to be all right. I said, okay. So then, of course, now, a couple months later, I asked Maria Melendez, I said, why'd you take Queenie away from me? So because Queenie was going to kill Jasmine.
What?
All because Queenie jumped in the crib. She said that Queenie was going to kill Jasmine. And I said, but what if she was protecting Jasmine? Because you're hitting Doherty. You're hitting Doherty because my sister's name is Dolores. I used to call her Doherty. So you're hitting Doherty. And she said, I don't give a F and fly. And I said, okay, again, I'm young. I don't know. I'm supposed to respect this person that claims to be my mother. And it just didn't fit right. Now, this is now where, as a young man, because of course I'm 11 years old, I'm starting to feel a certain way. Give me 30 seconds. I gotta check my internet. I don't like the way it's choppy. And I don't want to keep messing you up.
You good? I was just about to say that. It's getting choppy.
Let's try that. I'm using a different ISP. And at the age of 11, things are starting to click. All this trauma that I saw between the ages of 5 and 11, I'm like, okay, we got a problem. Something ain't right. Something is not right. Okay? And if something's not right, I need to find out what it is. What the hell did I pick? Right? And if it doesn't feel right, that's where it gets even more interesting because it doesn't feel right. So now I'm like, okay, well, how is it that these people are telling me they love me? How is it that these people are telling me that we're family, but I keep seeing and hearing nothing about killing and dying and
everything is violence.
Right. Violence, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that? We don't look alike. We don't talk alike. It doesn't sound right. So now I'm starting to get into this mode of rebellion. I'm starting to be a rebellious one. Right?
Sorry to cut you off, but as an 11, you're 11 at this time, right?
Yes. So
how else do you process this? At the age of 11, how else do you process this? How do you release this?
It's hard, right? It's hard because A, you don't have the answers. B, you don't have the people to go to. C, the people who are supposed to be teaching you things don't even teach you the right thing.
Correct.
So you're counterproductive to your growth. Absolutely. So, especially, you know how fast forward to now, you hear people talking about, well, I don't feel right. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. Something is not right. People say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. No, you that don't know what you're talking about because you're not in that person. You don't know what that person's feeling.
Correct.
So, making matters worse at the age of 11, now we're going through a whole change. Now I'm starting to see a lot of things differently. Now I'm starting to question everything I see. And I'm not able to question them to get the answers because they're not going to give me the answers.
Yeah.
So now I have to sit back and try to figure it out myself. And of course, I don't have the right answers. So everything I'm coming up with is incorrect.
You're 11. We have to keep emphasizing. I'm going to keep emphasizing. You're 11 years old.
But at 11, I had to learn. I had to figure it out because I couldn't keep letting these things affect me because I had to figure it out. So as I said, I started getting rebellious, and I gotta find this picture. Hold on, just bear with me a minute. I gotta find this one picture, because if I don't find this one picture, man, this. I gotta find this one picture. I gotta share this one picture with you. I got to. So I got rebellious, and I started doing things in the house that I wasn't supposed to do. And the one story that I never forget was that I took a bobby pin and I stripped the plastic off the bobby pin, took the bobby pin and stuck it inside the socket just to figure out what it would do. Now, fast forward, many people would say, well, you did that because you wanted to be an idiot. You wanted to be stupid. You wanted to do everything and anything that I didn't have to do. I turned around and said, it doesn't matter because I did it. I don't care.
Done. It's done.
It's done. Right. It's done. Yeah, let me share this because I don't want to go through all the trouble of downloading and all this other stuff. Let me know if you can see this picture.
Got it.
All right. This is me at 11 years old. We're in City Island. Now, you would think that being 11 years old, you're at the prime time of your life, enjoying life, having a good time, straight enjoying everything. Did I lose you? I think I'm still there with you, but I don't see you. So I'm just gonna give 30 seconds till you come back because I don't want you to miss what I'm saying.
I'm here. Just putting it up. I'm just giving you this. I'm giving you the platform. You're good.
All right. I didn't know if you were still there. My apologies. So this is when I was 11 years old. Do you see how scrawny I was at 11 years old? Scrawny little thing.
Yeah.
85 pounds soaking wet.
Wet weights.
85 pounds soaking wet. At City Island. City Island was one of the biggest places to go hang out, have a good time, and just have a blast. Do I look happy in that picture?
No.
I wasn't a happy kid.
You don't.
I didn't have a happy life. I really didn't. All right. So, and if anybody doesn't know what City Island is, or even heard of City Island, one of the famous movies called Bronx Tale about the bus driver. He actually stops at City Island. It's one of the biggest places that has a bunch of restaurants over there, all seafood. And anybody who grew up in the Bronx definitely knows about City Island. So, a scrawny little rebellious kid, 11 years old. Now I'm really getting into trouble. I started hanging out with gangs because there was gangs all over me. There was the Chingalings, Suicide Nation, Savage Nomads, Savage Skulls, the East Side Clan, West Side, the West Side Boys. They were all kind of gangs. And the one gang that I gravitated to was the Chingalings. Because they all
I was just about to ask exactly what are the Chingalings. I'm pretty familiar. I'm pretty familiar with the other ones I've heard before. Majority of the other ones, but the Chingaling I've never heard before.
Chingalings were, they were a ruthless gang. That when they took over a neighborhood, all the other gangs literally left. Okay, and I can vividly tell you this. The initiation to the Chingalings was that you had to have sex with a corpse right in front of everybody. That was the initiation. I remember that very well.
How could you forget it?
Exactly, because that's just envision what it is. Even though now, fast forward several decades later, people think it's the freaking coolest thing ever. But anyway, that's for other people's stories. So I started hanging out with the Chingalings. And they would ask, why you keep hanging out with them people? Even though my sister caught me one time, and she gave me an ass whooping that I'll never forget. And they said, why you keep hanging out with them? I said, because I need somebody to protect me, and they all look like protectors. I'm 11 years old. Yet I'm supposed to have my brother protecting me. I'm supposed to have my sister protecting me. I'm supposed to have my family protecting me. But how can I expect my family to protect me when my family is actually getting assaulted by their own mother?
Correct. Like, how could your family? Why would you expect that after everything you went through and going through, where you are in that journey, the family would have been the last thing on your mind looking for protection. I'm assuming, correct?
You are
That
correct.
would have been the first thing. Most people, that would be the first thing you gravitate towards looking to. But in your mind, everything's in reverse at this point. So
Absolutely.
that is probably the first thing you check off the list as
Absolutely.
for not going for protection.
Absolutely. And I checked that off at the age of 6. I already knew at the age of 6 not to go to my mother for anything. Because again, let's not forget, I watched her try to literally kill my sister.
Correct. With the
baseball bat. Okay. Now, mind you, that wasn't the first time she did it. And she did it three separate times. Okay, with other things. Now, I can honestly say I didn't have the greatest upbringing, but I didn't have the worst upbringing. And the reason why I say it wasn't the worst is because I wasn't chained to a radiator. I wasn't starved to death. I wasn't mishandled from what I can remember. Because if it did happen, I sure as hell don't remember. But I'm sure I would have remembered it. The experiences that I've had, and the only reason why I keep looking up is because I'm trying to keep myself from breaking down. When you think of an 11-year-old child, 11-year-old boy, you're supposed to figure out who's supposed to protect them, especially if you have an older brother in the house. The older brother is supposed to step up if there's no father figure in the house. My sister had to step up and try to teach me things. So now we talk about the age of 12. The age of 12, now, I'm still rebellious, still weighing 85 pounds soaking wet. I start walking around with a .357 Magnum Smith & Wesson, Dirty Harry style, 8-inch barrel.
I remember you referencing that.
The bullet was as big as my finger, or vice versa, should I say. The damn thing weighed a hell of a lot, literally holding my pants and shorts down most of the time. But the reason why I walked around with it was because the Chinglings, the gang members I was hanging around with, all had guns. And I figured, you know what? If nobody messes with them because they're walking around with guns, I'm going to walk around with a gun. Who gave me the gun? The Chinglings gave me the gun. How I knew I was going to get in trouble? Because everywhere I walked with it, they were there. So 175th and Grand Concourse is literally, as I describe it, most people won't even believe it, yet those that lived in the Bronx would know. 175th and Grand Concourse is literally one long-ass block that goes in a very, very odd shape. It goes all the way to 176th in Weeks Avenue. It goes from 176th and Weeks Avenue all the way down to 176th and Walton. Goes from 176th and Walton to Chestnut Street, makes a U, then goes all the way out to 173rd Street in Walton. Comes right back around from 173rd Street in Walton all the way to 173rd Street and Weeks Avenue over by the Cross Bronx Expressway. And then comes right back up to Grand Concourse, and then it comes right back to 175th. So it's a really, really long block.
Yeah. It seemed like...
Right? And the Chinglings, they owned that block. So no other gang could stop or bother anybody that was in there. Now, mind you, I didn't have to wear a vest that said Chinglings. Everybody knew that I was part of the Chinglings because I was always hanging out with them. And the guy who actually talked to me most of the time said, you will not ever wear colors, but if anybody messes with you, you just call me and I'll take care of it. I thought he was bullshit. So one day, I turned around and I called his bluff. And what was the first thing he did? He grabbed me by my arm, walked me up the block, turned around and told the guy that was part of the Savage Skulls, he said, if you ever mess with this kid again, it'll be the last thing you did. And then he turned around and said, you know what? We're not even going to wait for the next time. Boom! Took him out. Just like that. No questions asked. Did I cry? Absolutely not. Was I shocked? Absolutely not.
Question.
Go for it.
Because I'm just thinking about again where you are. Is this one of that? I'm guessing That would have been when you start to actually feel protected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The first, probably one of the first times you actually felt the feeling of real protection over care, consideration, and which would have probably came off as a form of love.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. This is, and for that same reason, how you mentioned it, this is why as I got older, I started working with people and advising people that chose to be part of a gang, that's not really who you're supposed to look up to and follow. Because at the end of the day, you become their pawn. I mean, in every single movie, anything you look at, it's the same exact way. That's how they actually build the kids up to be it. It happened in Africa. It's still happening in Africa. It's still to this day. Okay. They give you that sense of protection so they can use you for their benefit. Now, did I realize that? Absolutely. Why I realized that? Because I started seeing something different. I started seeing that they were vulnerable. Right? And what I mean by vulnerable is because at one time I started seeing a lot of police officers coming over and snatching them up, taking them into jail, beating the shit out of them in the middle of the street, knocking down their their motorcycles, cutting their tires. I'm like, okay, well, shit, they're not invincible. If they ain't invincible, how can I follow them if they're not invincible? I need someone that's invincible. I need to be invincible myself. I'm tired of being around people who just want to use people and abuse them. That's not me. This is where my psyche now is getting messed up. Because now I don't even know what to look for. I don't even know how to figure out what is right, what is wrong. Because of course, 11 years old, 12 years old, you're supposed to be in the prime of your life and enjoying life. So I was being rebellious. Even when I was going to school, the odd thing about going to school is that I had a teacher, which still to this day, I believe he's still alive. His name is Norman Gilman. Norman Gilman, something like that. Okay. This was a man who was a teacher and started teaching me things about life, which was pretty cool. Now, before I get into Norman Gilman, I got to tell you about what happened as the gangs got better and started breaking up the gangs. Now I'm in elementary school. CES 70. This is where it gets really interesting. And I want you to hold off on the Norman Gilman story. CES 70, I was in the annex. It was the secondary part of the school because they were running out of space. My brother, Victor Melendez, has now exceeded in his life of being a drug user, family man, getting into wrong, doing everything the opposite, but he only lived 3 blocks away. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this story is because I want you to understand something. Please understand something. Even as a child, you still find a way to look for your big brother, even if you know he's worthless. But somehow, some way, I felt the need to give him that one opportunity again. And I can honestly say he failed miserably. And it's terrible. So I was at school and I was horsing around with some friends in school. And back then, the garbage dumpsters with the sliding doors on them, they looked a whole lot bigger than they do now. So of course, this goes back to how I used to play on the rooftops, jumping from roof to roof. I was jumping from one canister to another canister. And of course, somebody was climbing up to grab me and say, "Tag, you're it." So I turned around and somebody else was coming up on the other side. So I said, okay, well, this one I'm going to slide down. So when I slid down, I slit my eye open on the lock that held the doors closed. And I was bleeding profusely. But I knew my brother lived across the street from the school. So I run across the street, ring the bell, call him out the window. He don't answer. He finally opens the window and he says, "What you want?" I said, "I need you to come take me to the hospital because I don't want mom to find out I cut my eye open." Close the window. So I ain't got time for that. You're supposed to be my big brother. You're supposed to look out for me. You're supposed to be my protector. You're supposed to be the one I go to. He chose not to help me. Okay. That was it. From that day on, I knew never, ever, 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 ever to look for my brother ever again, regardless of what it was going through. So there may be some breaks in time frames because I don't want to hold you up too much.
You good. Take your time.
The reason of why I am the way I am now. So then I turned around, of course. I went back to the principal's office. The principal's office called my mom, my stepmother.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing. Because, of course, she comes in. The first thing she does is she strikes me. Right in front of the principal and the assistant principal. She struck me. I told your effing tail not to be effing around, doing all this dumb, stupid effing stuff. All you want to do is keep going to the hospital. Okay. She was mad because of course, of the kid growing up, having asthma. I was constantly at the hospital getting steroid shots to calm my asthma down. And I bet she didn't like that. All those times she had to go 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. And granted, again, I got to give it just an ounce of motherly love, because she did apply that motherly love to take me to the hospital to make sure I was all right. Oh, I got to tell you this one story. You do remember, as I said, that all of them were using drugs in the house. Correct. Everybody always try to figure out, how is it possible that you lived in the Bronx with all the drugs and you never became a drug user? One story I forgot to mention is what happened to me when I was a young boy. In the very early morning one night on 175th and Grand Concourse, I woke up and I saw my brother in the same room as I, because of course we were younger then. His eyes were wide open. I mean, like they were glued to the top of his head. I was trying to figure out why. So I took the blanket off of him. He had 2 hypodermic needles stuck in his foot, in each foot. Right? I forgot to mention this one. This is another reason why I said that he's the responsibility of my sister's passing. I ran over to my sister because my sister was in her bedroom on the other side of the apartment. Because the apartments back then, in them days, if anybody remember The Odd Couple, like I said before, and I'll say it again, I always like to find humor in everything I talk about.
Yeah.
The apartment of The Odd Couple was huge. It was like freaking 4 apartments in one. So our apartment was the same way. We had 2 sides to the apartment. So I ran all the way over to my sister's bedroom, got my sister. My sister went into the bedroom where he was laying down in the bed, and she freaked out. She pulls the needles out, and I asked her, I said, what's that? Why is he like that? She said, I'll tell you later. The one thing about my sister was that she didn't hide anything from me. Like many people do still to this day, they hide the information, they hide the truth from their children. They believe that they're protecting the child by not telling them what's happening. I can honestly sit here and tell you it is the opposite. Because when we find out what it is, we're not going to be too happy with you when you try to tell us what you think it is or what we need to hear. Because then all you're doing is lying to the child, and it's unfair because now you're not allowing the child to learn the right way. So my sister said, I'll tell you later. So she got Victor dressed. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I keep saying my sister, but I call Victor instead of saying my brother. My sister turns around, gets him dressed, gets me dressed, and she doesn't even tell her mother. We run over to Lebanon Hospital, which is literally down the block. She goes to Lebanon Hospital. And of course, Victor's sitting in the chair. He's, doing that dopamine lean, because I didn't know what it was. It was called black tar back then. He was on heroin. Okay. She turns around, she looks at him, she stops slapping him in the face. I'm like, okay, okay, why are you hitting him? I don't understand what's going on. So he finally comes to, and he hears the doctor, okay, we're going to take care of you. He turns around and tells no, give me a minute. So he gets up, he starts walking away, and my sister gets me, and she says, let's go. And I'm like, okay, where are we going? We're supposed to see the doctor. Because I know I had to see the doctor almost every 6-7 times a day to get a shot. Yeah. I'll tell you later. So as we're walking out the hospital, Victor turns around and tells my sister, just give me $10 so I can go get a bag of dope, and I'll feel better. I'm like, what the hell is that? Bag of dope. So she gave him $10, and my sister walks me over to 173rd Street under an underpass underneath the D train. And we're sitting on the floor, and she turns to me and she says, Jay, if you ever hear somebody say dope or black tar, that's heroin, and it's very bad for you. So don't ever touch it. Don't let nobody give it to you. And if anybody ever turns around and tells you to use drugs, you tell them no. Because you see what your brother's going through, and you see what mom does. You don't need to have none of that in you. Correct. So if you love me, please don't do it. So many years later, Victor kept using drugs. He got so bad that he was a dope addict. And my sister kept trying to protect him because she felt that was what she had to do. And of course, now fast forward, Jasmine's a little bit older. And Jasmine's starting to see a lot of nonsense. And then, of course, it's my turn to protect Jasmine. So the first thing I did was I explained to Jasmine what Victor was doing, what Victor was smoking, what Victor was doing. I even turned around and told her that her mother was a big marijuana addict. Because I'll tell you like this, I used to have lots of fun when I used to sit down with my sister. And these are the moments of joy that I speak of when I said, they weren't great times, but they were good times. I'll sit down with my sister and her best friend, Barry, that rest his soul. Barry was a Jamaican, so you already know Jamaicans love smoking marijuana. And we would all sit in the same bedroom.
Shout out to the Jamaicans.
Yes, she'll sit there with look here now. It always cracked me up when I started seeing guys and girls talking about, well, I got this big old dime bag of, this marijuana. I got some good stuff. I sit there like, you call that good stuff? Shit. My sister was smoking stuff like this. They're like, well, where's she getting? I'm like, a brick? What you mean a brick? So that's a brick. Where's your sister? We used to hang out with her. I said, hell no, I ain't telling you who my sister is. Barry used to bring not one, but 3 bricks on the weekend to our house. The Melvin Moore albums. I'm talking about the albums when you used to put them on a record player, and you put it on a record player. You start listening to music. And they sitting there with the bamboo paper rolling in a box. I'm not talking about the.
It's gonna be a good week. Hey, it's gonna be a good weekend.
Yes, and they sitting there with a box of paper, and they took out the little box, and they pull out the paper, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching. Now don't forget,
taking all this in.
Say it again.
You taking all this in.
Talk about a contact high.
Mm-hmm.
That was what was fixing my asthma.
Yep.
Because he had pure marijuana. He had real good shit. I really think that's what it was. Because they'll sit there and smoke a pound of weed in front of me like it was just cigarettes. But of course, it was my sister. So I figured my sister protect me. So she's showing me what it's all about. What not to do, what to do. But of course, fast forward again. Now Jasmine's a little bit older. And this is where Maria Melendez, like I said, it wasn't a great time. Now you saw how angry I was at 11.
Correct.
In that picture. There's a lot of pictures you will never get to see because they didn't take them.
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine was 8 years old. Now, mind you, I'm only 10 years older than Jasmine. So I'm 18 now. So now you're starting to get an idea of how angry I am. Maria Melendez took Jasmine and painted her up. Lipstick, makeup, tight clothes. We're hanging out at City Island. Now,
wait. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Jasmine is 8, correct?
Yep.
All right, okay. All right, let's go ahead.
Jasmine's 8 years old being pimped out by her grandmother. Not once, not twice, more than 2 handfuls. Why? Because Maria Melendez believed that if she pimped out her granddaughter, the men would like her more. And the reason why I say that is because Now, not because, the fact of the matter is, Maria Melendez always found a way to have men in her life by giving them something that they were looking for. Now, the part I didn't say was what she tried to do with my sister, hence the reason why my sister likes women, hence the reason why she got the beating that she got, because she couldn't use her daughter as bait to bring the men into her life. She didn't like it. But when I seen that she was doing that to Jasmine, and the beginning, of course, 15, 16, 17, I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't seem right. I just thought it was something cute. I didn't put no mind to it. But at 18, that's when I really started figuring it out. And I got real angry. And of course, I told my sister about it. My sister was angry about it. But of course, my sister still had to respect her mother, because that old culture about respecting your elders, regardless of what happens, you have to respect them. All right, now we're starting to get a little uncomfortable here. So now, at the age of 18, I decide to try to venture out into the military. Why again? Because I need to find people that's going to protect me and protect those, or teach me how to protect those that are near me. So just like Victor, I went into the military. Actually, I went to military school. I went to Fort Schuyler Maritime College, which is over in New York. I did 2 years there. The one thing that they told me or taught me over there is how to kill people. That's the worst thing they could have done. And I laughed because you don't teach someone who's unstable how to kill people. I'm gonna be honest. I have an unstable mind. And yes, there are times I can envision killing people and brutally doing things to them. Just as a serious, I'm standing looking at someone and laughing at them. But I'm in my back of my head, I'm like, what would happen if I tore you apart? Matter of fact, almost like Dexter. Okay. And go ahead.
I watched that. I know that whole series. It came on Sundays on Showtime, I believe.
Right.
I'm very familiar with that. For the listeners, if you have never heard of that show, I highly recommend y'all watch it. And that will give you an idea on where Uncle Jay is coming from, what type of mental, and that when you said that, it fits. And hearing you saying you're going into the military and they're teaching you this, not knowing, because they, that's another neither here nor there, but you're the perfect candidate. And there could be for them in their minds, you're the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
They may not be aware of it, if they figure it out, you're the perfect candidate for that.
Yep. That's why I also, to reference another movie, Full Metal Jacket, Delfino, okay, his character.
Yes.
Another perfect example. An unstable mind being in the military is one of the most dangerous things to do. Now, for me, unfortunately, I say, my sister still had a lot of grip on me. So even as I knew what Maria Melendez was doing to Jasmine, I couldn't really do anything to it because do anything to her because I didn't want to hurt my sister, right? Because my sister loved her mother. I couldn't do anything to her because of Jasmine, because Jasmine loved her grandmother. But Victor and Maria Melendez, I've told them, I will kill you without blinking an eye. I will not feel no remorse. I will not feel any hurt. I won't even piss on your grave because that would be too much effort to show you some type of gratitude. Told them both that at the age of 18. They both turned around and looked at me like I was crazy. But unfortunately, you don't realize I am unstable. It doesn't seem that way because I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm giggling. Just like a woman, or many women rather, so I say, many Latina women, and probably women in general, we're always told when you're going through something, you put lipstick on and you just smile and you keep going. I would smile and just keep thinking of every which way that I can destroy you. Literally, till you feel every ounce of pain that you have put me through. Now, at the age of 19, I had just finished up my first year at Fort Shiloh, and I was graduating full honors. And they turned around and they said, "You're gonna go to the military, the Marine Corps, as a warrant officer if you want." I said, "Well, I'll think about it." Came home. My victim was my so-called brother. Saw me come off the bus, and he said, "Look at this chump. You already think you're a badass now because you got that military uniform. You ain't no damn no military man. You better stop that bullshit. Get your ass upstairs." Now, one of the biggest things that every Marine was given is called a K-bar. It is a 20-inch or 21-inch beautiful knife, multi-use knife. And I looked at my brother, or Victor rather at the time, and I looked at him, I walked up to him, I said, "Just because you flunked out in 6 months does not mean I'm going to do the same thing. And just because you think you're better than me, or you got bigger balls than me, or you think because you're supposed to be my older brother, I won't kill you, I will slit your throat without a questionable doubt." And then he pushed me. Whoa. We walked into the lobby of 1791 Grand Concourse, got in the elevator. I took out the knife, put it underneath his throat, not on his throat, underneath his throat, right underneath his actual Adam's apple. And I told him, I said, "Let this be the first and last time you ever talk to me out of place. You ever look at me out of place. You say something to someone I love wrongly, we're not going to talk. I'm just going to shove this into your skull." Real simple. And of course, he started crying because he thought I was not serious. And all I did is I took the point and I stuck it a little deeper, just enough to feel that pressure right underneath the Adam's apple.
Let him know it's real.
Let him know it's real. He ran inside the apartment. He told my sister. My sister came outside. She hugged me first. She kissed me on the forehead. She said, "You shouldn't have done that." I said, "No, because I want him to know that if he does anything to you or to Jasmine, I will kill him." So simple. She thought I was not serious. She said, "Jay, I really, really hope you're not serious." I said, "Daughter, I love you, and I won't let anybody hurt you." So fast forward now, several years later, we all move on to our own selves. You know, we get older, of course, we got to move on. My niece and my sister, we always kept in contact. One time I got into some situation where I had to fall back and live with Maria Melendez for a couple of months because I didn't have a place to stay. And she opened the house. She said, "You know what? Come on in. You're still my son." I said, "No, I'm not. I just need a place to stay for a couple of months."
Correct.
She said, "How you gonna say I'm not your son? Or you're not my son?" I said, "Because I'm not your son. You adopted me. Let's keep it 100% honestly. You adopted me. You're my adopted mom. You're my legal guardian. Let's put it exactly what it is on the court paper.
Legal terms. We're gonna keep this on legal terms. We're not gonna let's keep this as less personal as possible.
Right. Absolutely. You are my legal guardian according to state document. Now, my birth certificate is a fake. I don't believe it's real. The person that I met that you introduced me to many years ago, I found is really my father. The woman that you turned around and told me that was just a friend of the family happened to be my real mother, but you lied to me for so many years. So would I forgive you? No. Would I let you live with it? Absolutely, because that's your choice. I cannot force you to do anything other than what you felt was right. So my mother, my real biological mother, is Dominican, blonde hair, blue eyes, and as pale as a Caucasian with pink feet. Okay. My father, true Dominican, when I met him, he weighed about 125 pounds, 135 pounds, scrawny little old man, but very well dressed. He always believed in wearing dress slacks and a dress shirt and a belt and shoes all the time. Now, of course, I thought that was the funniest thing ever because I don't even
Clean as a whistle.
Yes, I only remember Italians dressing like that because of the places where I lived at. So we always kept in touch. Right? So I fell on hard times at one time, and I went back to Mary Melinda's house, and I put some of my stuff in the house, and we kept it kind of, I want to say civil or neutral or just friends. We didn't say nothing. So before that, as I mentioned, I met my father, and my father's the one that taught me about business. And of course, he had a soda truck, delivered soda, as that was his business. He showed me about it. So of course, now I'm young, still trying to figure things out. Went to military school and all this other stuff. I still don't know the right from wrong, wrong from right. So I'm just still guessing how I'm going to know, because of course I wasn't taught anything. So I learned about business. So during that time, of course, like I said, I fell on hard times. I went back to Maria Melendez's house, and she took care of me. She let me live there for a little.
Yes, sir.
Victor, going back to Victor, had the idea that he should steal to get high what I owned. At first, I didn't say nothing. A couple of things here, a couple of things there.
No big deal.
No big deal. So I left. Didn't come. I didn't stay there for a while. So now, of course, I'm talking to my dad, and I told my dad, I said, "What can I do? How can I get my own? Because I'm tired of the life that I'm living, and I need to do some other things." He says, "Well, I apologize for not being there, but they just never told me who you was or what was going on." The typical spiel. At first, I didn't believe it. I let it be. I said, "The only thing you could do for me right now is teach me about the business." He said, "Okay, I'll teach you about the business. I'm going to teach you what it's like to have your own business." Okay, cool. So he taught me that. Taught me what is needed to have my own business. And I'm grateful for that, because that's what taught me about what I am now. So now I got to go back to the stories of living with my adopted mother on the interim while I was going through some hardship. Victor decided to steal stuff from me. What Victor didn't know is that already by this time, I'm already hanging out with people who I'm not supposed to hang out with. I'm already hanging out with people who I should be hanging out with and not hanging out with at the same time. And I'm hanging around people who kind of gave me some stability as well. And what I say by that is the police department. I hung out with a lot of cops back in the 70s. Back in the 70s, a cop in the early 70s, late 70s, those are not the kind of cops you want to mess around with. So another sense of protection, another sense of leadership, another sense of a male figure to be protected by.
Whoa, you've been searching, you've been looking for so much protection and loyalty and support. You went from two different extremes. And we're talking about the police department back then, not this day and age, you feel me? Who I feel like are, they get a bad name, but they're softer compared to what it's your time frame. You went from one of the toughest gangs.
Yep.
In that era, and in that area, and now, as a youngin, now you're looking for protection from law enforcement.
Yep.
A form of personal protection.
Personal. Now let's not forget, I also just came out of the military. So now I have that perspective of what leadership, standards, format.
That's how you end up there with them.
Right.
Correct.
So now
that was the path leading you to them.
Exactly. So now I need to figure out, is this form the same or the opposite? Why I did that? Because my sister was a school safety officer. She was a truant officer for the public schools back then as well. So I was proud of my sister. She'd be driving around the police cars wearing a white shirt. Everybody thought she was a captain.
Your sister, who? Which one?
Dolores. I only have one sister.
Okay. Got you.
And during that time when she was doing that, I was very proud of her. So that's another thing that gravitated me to hang out with police officers. So, okay, let me figure this one out now. Got the military school background, understand what that's about. I haven't chose to go to the military, of course, because I didn't feel right. I wanted to have my own business because I needed to make money to take care of myself and, of course, try to find some stability. I didn't find stability until I hit 35.
35.
35. Now, mind you, this is all these years going up and down, jumping around from group to group, trying to fit in, trying to find that protective standards. Couldn't find it. Even down to when I met, and this is where it gets really bad, met my oldest daughter's mother. Yes, I don't call myself a father anymore because my kids disowned me. And the same way they disowned me is the same way I cannot call myself a father because I'm not there for them. I may have provided somewhat of a life because, of course, it takes the DNA of the male and the DNA of the woman to create a child, but I don't see myself as a father anymore. That's why when people say, "Oh, happy Father's Day," I just look at them myself. For my fur babies, okay, I'll take that one. But be careful because I'm really not a father. So I'm jumping around a lot only because I don't want to really downtime your efforts for what you're doing. So
take your time. Huh?
No. I understand. It's only because it's a lot of points is just gonna be like, damn, like what the hell. You heard when I told. As a matter of fact, I got a testimony video up as well. I did one of those. People just look at me like, damn, this is crazy what you've gone through. So let's bring it back to when my father was teaching me business, and I want to piggyback off of that one because this is where the way I carry myself imposes people to believe something. As I mentioned, I hung out with a lot of cops. And I started hanging out with them so badly that I started learning everything about them. She said, "This is part one." Is that right? Am I seeing that part one? This is part one. Yeah. Okay.
This is a session where we let you just cook. We gonna, like I said, we gonna come back after you.
All right. Again, if you got questions, just ask questions, man. Just ask questions.
I'm enjoying this journey that you're taking us on. I even had to kind of come off the screen and then, wipe the eyes, so brought back memories. But oh my God! But go ahead.
I appreciate that, and that's another reason why I'm trying to keep it away from that because there's a very, very strong emotional side that would just really just bust eye tears all day long. So while hanging out with cops, I started meeting a lot of undesirable people, so I say. Gangbangers again, drug dealers, and stuff like that. So when I met Lefty, yes, his name is actually Lefty, because he had one eye. Good people. Okay? Good people.
Hell of a name. It fits.
It was Lefty because he was missing his left eye. Now, before I talk about Lefty, I got to bring a tearjerker in. I just remembered this one. When I met my oldest daughter's mother, when we got together, her family was into Jehovah's Witness. Now, I never believed in any type of religion. I never believed in any type of book. I never believed in anything of that nature because, of course, that was not my stuff. That was not my thing. My daughter, Stacy, I named my first daughter Anastasia Garcia. Her mother wanted to throw a letter C in the middle and call her Consuela for her mother, her grandmother. I disagreed, but she had to do it. And the reason why I have to bring this story in because it shows something much more dangerous about my way of looking at things that might just show people why I am the way I am. When Stacy was born, mind you, it's my first child. And I've done a lot of dirt growing up. I've done a lot of dirt. Good, bad, ugly, and otherwise. I mean, I've done things to people that nobody would ever forgive me for. When Stacy was born, I had to make a whole lot of changes when Stacy was born. Don't ask me how old I was, because I'm going to tell you why I don't remember. In a little bit, I'm going to tell you why. When Stacy was born, the one thing I remember most is watching her come out. She came out like this. Literally, like this. The umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck 10 times. and she was trying to hold it like this. And she was scratching her face like this, trying to figure out how to get that dang thing off her neck. And of course, as a young father doesn't know any better, I don't know from P-Boo what the hell's going on. All I know is I'm looking at my girlfriend at the time, her hoo-hoo is yay wide, pushing this baby out. Hence the reason why I said, here comes the joke. Remember the other day I talked about, I said, nigga, if you put both hands together and your thumbs don't touch, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. Because I remember the doctor put both his hands together, stuck his hands in.
It took me a while when you said that the night, but I quickly, when you did like that, I caught it. I was like, oh yeah, I caught it. I caught it. No pun intended.
You caught it. And again, I gotta put humor to a lot of things because I don't want anybody to be crying over my situation or my testimony. So that's why I want to bring some humor in it. Stacy was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck 10 times, and she almost died. Okay, because she was getting choked out. And the doctor was freaking out. And then it made matters worse that I grabbed the doctor by his jacket and I punched him in his head 4 times because I thought he was doing worse because she was turning blue. I think they call it the babe. What the midwife? No, not the midwife. What's honey? Love. What's the woman that's inside the huh? No, there's another one. What is it called? A doula? I think it's a woman that actually is helping the woman give birth, besides the nurse. A doula. Okay. That woman turned around and she pushed me. She said, they're just trying to save the baby. I said, no, they're not. They're making it worse. So she grabbed me and she said, no, watch. And she took the scissors and she cut the umbilical cord. And what was funny about the umbilical cord to me is if anybody watched the movie Alien, when the alien whoops his tail around,
yeah, that
umbilical cord went like this and came right off my daughter. But she had all her scratches on her face, and that made me more angry. So her mother turned around and told my daughter Stacy what I did to the doctor. And still to this day, if anybody was ever talked to my daughter or asked my daughter what your dad did to the doctor, she said punch the fuck out of him, because I did, because he was hurting my daughter. That's where the protective mode came in, without even really knowing what protecting was about. So I had to protect my daughter. Babe, when you get a chance, tell the pups to get up off that couch, off their cots. So I want you guys to understand that even as I didn't know what was protection about, the natural instinct of who to protect and what to protect is there. It's installed in all of us somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So of course now my daughter's born, and I'm enjoying life because she's born. But of course, let's keep in mind I've done a lot of wrong things, and it's all the wrong things started coming up and creeping up and getting me from behind. So when the term of you have to pay the piper ever comes up in somebody's life, you better stop what you're doing and sit back and pay that piper what it's due. Because what you don't remember doing to somebody else is going to hurt you in the long run, right? So what I realized is that at that time, I had to sit back and start realizing what I had done wrong to make sure that my daughter didn't have any problems growing up. Did I learn? Absolutely not. Why? Because as a father, back then, first thing I said was I have to do whatever I have to do to protect my daughter. I didn't have a place for my daughter to live in. I didn't have a place for my daughter's mother to live in. I didn't have a roof over my head. And what's the first thing you're supposed to do as a father? Protect, provide.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
I was working at the time, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to do something that I'm just gonna have to do, because I didn't have enough money to get them their own place. So yes, I stole some money. Yes, I got greedy. Yes, if I didn't get greedy, I would have got away with it. But I got greedy.
That's how it always is.
Yes. Almost got away with it. even down to the owners of the business that I stole the money from. They said, "We understand, but you got to pay the piper. You got to pay the price." The detective, I'll never forget this one. He said, "Jay, really? We understand that hard times require you to do drastic measures, but did you have to get greedy?" My answer to him at the time was, how was I supposed to get my daughter from the house to the hospital or her doctor's appointments by taking a bus? I needed a car. He says, "So you actually forged a check to buy a car. Don't you know that's the way we found out what you did?" So I had to get my daughter to the doctor, and I wasn't going to take a bus because I didn't want to wait. I had to get her to the doctor. I had to get her to her appointments when she needed to be there. Now, did they know about the rest of the stuff I did with it? Yeah, because they asked me. Because it was a large amount of money. They said, "So you got her an apartment in your daughter's name for 8 years." I said, "Yeah." They said, "Why?" I said, "Because I didn't want her to get kicked out for 8 years. Because I figured that 8 years down the line, her mother or I would be in a better place."
Correct.
But, of course, that backfired too. Pay the piper because I got too greedy. During that time of my daughter's upbringing, mind you, we're in the house, in the apartment. My daughter's mother at the time thought I was messing around with the neighbor. Don't accuse me of anything if you don't have the facts. Unfortunately, still to this day, I believe in the same thing. So we got into a situation where I almost killed her too. Okay? The grocery store owner down the block was like, "Jay, you crazy, man." I said, "No, I just don't like nobody doing anything wrong to me, and I don't like anybody accusing me of things that I'm not doing. If you're gonna accuse me of something, make sure it's a fact." That's it. I'll sit there and say, "Yeah, I did it. I effed up, and I'm gonna own up to it." It is. So fast forward now, several years later, my daughter's older now, of course. Interesting story. I was given a cat for my daughter. The cat scratched my daughter. I wasn't happy about that. I took the cat and hung it.
Imagine what happened to that. Yeah, I just been saying, I can imagine what happened to that cat.
I hung it. I hung it on a tree right in front of the building that we lived in. Everybody thought I was crazy. They said, "You shouldn't have done that." I said, "I don't care. Scratch my daughter. I'm gonna kill it." That story is, as I said before, what you do will come back to haunt you. You have to pay the piper.
You reap what you sow.
Absolutely. That damn cat haunted me, or even physically followed me for 2 years straight. I walked to the train station, all I heard was wow, wow, every day at the same train station. I went to a buddy of mine, that matter of fact, the landlord of the building. He and I got real close friends. I used to go to his house and hang out with him. The cat was underneath the chair of where I was sitting at.
You can't run outside the window like that.
I won't believe it. The wife in the background saying the cat outside the window. I'm hanging right outside the window. I got a whole lot of yard out here, and I hang it. This time I make sure it's dead. I'll put 3 things in and chop it up and feed it to the other dogs out here. Don't play with me.
For real.
So he turned around and said, "Why does that cat hate you so much?" I said, "Because if it's the same cat that I tried to hang in front of the building, it'd probably come back after its 8 lives." Apparently, I didn't get all 8 lives or 9 lives, whatever it is. So, of course, he laughed about it. I joked, but I was real serious about it. So, fast forward during those times. Now, of course, my daughter's older. And this is where it gets real interesting. Of course, met another woman. Things didn't go too well. There's a lot of bad things happen. But my daughter's mother, brothers, family members, they reached out to me. Hey, "Jay, we need your help." I said, "Okay, what you need me for?" They said, "We need for you to come and do something with us." All right, let's go.
Didn't even ask what.
I didn't ask any questions. I said, come on, let's go. So we're driving down the street. The youngest brother, which is my daughter's uncle, was standing on the corner talking to another girl. My daughter's oldest uncle's girlfriend jumps out the car with a sword off. Boop. Takes him out. Right in front of me. And I sat there and I was like, did I just see what I think I saw? True story. You can look it up.
You.
If the article's out there, look it up.
I believe you. I have no reason not to believe you.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you invite me to come with y'all to assassinate my daughter's youngest uncle. Why? Come to find out that the youngest uncle was stealing over 3 bags of dope, or what they call bundles of dope, every single day. I said, so why'd y'all bring me? What did I got to do? Because we wanted you to see what would happen to your daughter. Oh, no.
Wow.
See, y'all got the game fucked up.
Wow.
Y'all got the game fucked up. And they were trying to be serious about it. And I said, let's get something clear here. You talking about Stacy, right? Nah, because you gotta understand, Stacy may just come out and do something to us. I said, did y'all forget what I did to y'all father-in-law?
Yeah.
Y'all forgot that? They were like, well, we heard that you did it, but we weren't sure. I said, so why don't you call your father-in-law or your stepfather, your grandfather, whatever you want to call him, and ask him who put the 20 fucking bullets in front of, on his window, all around his head.
Wow.
They're like, so you serious you did that? I said, no, I'm not serious. I'm telling you I did it. I'm not serious. I'm telling you I did it. So if I did that to your father, your stepfather, your grandfather,
What
whatever
do
the
y'all
fuck,
think I will do to y'all?
exactly, without a blink of an eye. And that happened because he turned around and told me that I would never see my daughter. That he would take my daughter away from me. Hence the reason why I had to go and steal that money to get my daughter's apartment rather. But I put 20 bullets right around, because he stuck his head out the window. I put 20 bullets right around his whole head like this, like a semicircle. I said, the next one will be definitely for you. Simple.
There will be no 21st miss.
None. I won't even blink an eye. The same way I didn't blink an eye then, I won't blink an eye now. So then my daughter's, I guess what they call her uncle's girlfriend, she turned around, she looked at me, she says, Jay, I'm sorry. I said, no, don't say you're sorry, because that's just gonna make me take you out even further. It's gonna make me take you sooner, because now you're trying to be funny. She said, Jay, no, I'm serious. I said, no, I'm very serious. I said, I'm telling you what, I'm gonna give you a chance to take this car and drive up the road and leave me right here, because I don't want to be part of this nonsense, because I'm gonna tell them who did this. I'm telling you right now. So how you gonna snitch? You know snitches. I was like, I don't give a shit what you're telling me about snitches. I won't let you come to me. I won't let you come to me. I already know where you at. I already know where you're gonna run to. So before they blame me for this bullshit, I'll take you out. So my daughter's oldest uncle looked at me. He says, Jay, I'm so sorry. I said, no, you too. You can get it too. You can get it too.
You ain't just hear what I told her?
Shit. I cannot deal with this bullshit. I thought we were gonna do something fun or do something, you know. I know I'm not the cleanest person. I transported drugs before. I know what it's like to make crack cocaine. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to sell bundles. I know what it's like to sell bricks. I know what it's like to break into somebody's house. I know what it's like to shoot somebody, kill somebody. I know all those things, but I'm trying to become better. I'm trying
you between 35 and 37 or no?
I'm between 24 and 28.
Okay, this is before. Okay, got you. Wow.
Now remember, I said at 35 is when I realized what I'm supposed
That's
to do.
That's when you realize. Got you. So okay.
Right?
Wow.
So I'm still learning. Now, during this time, as I mentioned, I used to hang out after all that happened. Still was hanging out with a lot of cops, hanging out with a lot of drug dealers. This comes back to the story of Victor once again. Lefty was the known dope dealer of the neighborhood. Soundview, they were called the Soundview Boys. And I used to laugh all the time because that's the block they lived on, Soundview Avenue. And I had told Lefty, I said, Lefty, if you ever see my niece and you ever see my sister and you sell them anything, I'm telling you now, I will come and get you. Don't worry about the guys, what they call them, the boys in blue, because back then I was hanging out with so many cops, they actually thought I was a cop. I said, don't worry about them because I'm going to come get you myself. And I'm telling you to your face, we will not be having a conversation. I'm not even going to let you take a breath. That'll be the last breath you take. He looked at me and says, Jay, I got too much respect for you, man. I got too much respect. Then his boy walked up to me. His boy's name was Bear. Bear stood 7 feet, 375 pounds. I said, that's a big nigga.
Goddamn, and big Goliath around this bitch.
Yes. I said, that is one big black bastard.
Yeah.
And his name was Bear. I said, dang, that name fit. And I looked at him and I said, listen, I know you two are boys, but if you step in the way, I will kill you like a bear.
For real.
I'm just telling you. Whatever happens, I don't care. Just
live as a bear, you're going to die as a bear.
Exactly. Don't touch my niece, don't touch my sister. That's it. Whatever else happens. They're like, that. We got you, Jay. We got you. I said, don't, no, all right, cool, whatever.
Here we go. Here we go with this. I got you. Here we go with this. Exactly. I got you.
Like I said, I'm not the cleanest boy. I'm really not. I'm not the cleanest boy, and I'm sure as hell not the dirtiest. That's still the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah.
Right.
This is always someone work.
No, you're not. Right. So Victor now decided to steal my trench coat because I told Jasmine to hold on to it because it's very, very nice coat, lambskin leather. Cost me a pretty penny. And I told Jasmine to hold on to it for me because I didn't want nobody to take it from my place where I was living at because I was in transition from place to place to place. I was doing what the hippies and the babe. What's that other? They had hippies. No, not nomads, please, not nomads. What are the people that read the tire cars? Gypsies. That's the word. Thank you. Gypsies. I was doing the gypsy thing. I was jumping from house to house to house to house to house. I was staying here, staying there, paying my dues, of course. So I told my niece, hold on to this jacket for me. One day I went to go hang out at the club. Back then it was this place called the Devil's Nest was the club.
Okay.
Ironic name for me to go hang out at, right? It was called the Devil's Nest.
Fitting.
And I saw Lefty.
Fitting.
It's very fitting. Lefty walked up with this beautiful damn trench coat, same color, caramel gold. I said, bro, that's a mighty fine jacket. Where you get it? He says, man, some dope fiend sold to me. I said, a dope fiend sold to you? He goes, yeah, I traded it for $3, 33 bags, man. This shit is nice. You feel this, feel this, feel this. I felt it. I know what my coat felt like. I said, yo, has that got a green stain in the pocket on the inside? He said, how'd you know? I said, damn.
Whoa. Life.
He's like, bro, how'd you know? I said, did some dope fiend named Victor gave it to you? Skinny fucker? Lived down on 174 from Crows. He goes, yeah, that's that little skinny motherfucker. He owed me a whole lot of money too. He keep bringing me all this bullshit. Keep bringing me little baby jewelry.
Well, I gotta wipe the bally on that one, but whoa.
I said, what? He brushed the baby jewelry. He turned around. He said, bitch, you ain't gonna tell me to sit down. So even as I know my daughter's a bitch, even though I know my daughter's a hoe, that doesn't give you the right to desecrate her in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I grabbed him by the neck and stuck his ass out the window. given a cat for my daughter. The cat scratched my daughter. I wasn't happy about that. I took the cat and hung it.
Imagine what happened to that. Yeah, just in a second. Imagine what happened to that cat.
I hung it. That he would take my daughter away from me. Hence the reason why I had to go and steal that money to get my daughter's house, apartment rather. But I put 20 bullets right around, because he stuck his head out the window. I put 20 bullets right around his whole head like this, like a semicircle. I said, the next one will be definitely for you. Simple.
There will be no 21st miss.
None. I won't even blink an eye. The same way I didn't blink an eye then, I won't blink an eye now.